Now today, as if the shirt doesn't say enough, we're going to talk about some stuff straight out of Flat Earth. So I seen this post on Facebook over this course this week during Feast of Tabernacles. For everybody that went out camping, everybody that observed everybody that's out there that observes the scriptural biblical feast on the Father's lunisolar scriptural calendar. Shout out to y'all. Hope you had a wonderful Feast of Tabernacles. With that said, during this time frame, I happened to scroll Facebook and see that there's a show called The Tasteless Gentleman, and apparently they have a Facebook page too for their YouTube show. And I'm not out here to give these guys a shout out. Actually, the title for their show, not to bash anyone, but it is actually a very tasteless show in my opinion. So they picked a perfect title for their show. But what got me intrigued was their post on Facebook. You can see here that they were talking about how stupid flat earthers were. And I just cannot help myself but respond to this. And real quickly, like these guys, I think when I check their channel, they're like at about 25K on subs. I think we're at 72, almost to the 75K mark. And I don't really consider them a somebody or my show a somebody. Apparently, I've seen this chart thing on YouTube now that apparently 100,000 subs, you get some little plaque on the wall or something. And I guess that's when you're considered like a somebody. So I will say from now on that if you're like 100K plus, you're a somebody in my viewpoint, based on what YouTube said for their platform. Okay, so with that said, here's just people talking. They're talking, I'm talking. Well, they've made their supposition out there of what the situation is about flat Earth, and that pretty much people believe it, such as myself. I'm stupid. Now, I used to be a huge supporter of NASA, Globe Earth, the CGI fakery, all that crap that everybody sees nowadays from NASA in our good old government, right? Well, and when I say good old, I don't mean there's anything good about them. But what's going on here is that if you look at it, this show these guys put on, which I think some of them, need to also look into who the true Hebrew Israelites are, because I believe some of them, the guys are black guys. You might want to check that out, because you might actually be a true Hebrew Israelite. If you want to check the link video description below about that too, that may wake you up to scriptural truths as well. But we'll stay focused on this scriptural truth right here, is that the Bible talks about that the earth is flat, geostationary, under a firmament dome. And all that information is laid out. You can start from Genesis forward. And the sun moves around the earth. All right, the earth's stationary, all this stuff. Just like when Joshua commanded the sun and the moon to stand still, okay? Like everybody didn't fly off this 1,000-mile-an-hour spinning ball that all the mathematics break down to 666 or 66.6 mile per hour, all this crap, right? 6.66 of curvature drop, all this garbage that come from the Great Whore Babylon, Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, etc. The Man of Sin's mark on it, 666 as well, because Pope's titles, Vicarious Philadelphia, stand in the place of Son of Yah, right? So anyway, here we have all these people that follow along with this indoctrination in their mind that the world is a globe. And, from the time I was in kindergarten, it was one of the first things put in front of me. And so, when you have been ignorant to something for so long, when you have been uneducated to the full depth of something for so long, you just believe a lie. And so, when you get to that point, then what you do is you mock and berate people like myself that actually stand up for the truth. And so, like I said, I'm going to demonstrate that today, how uneducated people view the flat earth conversation. Now, if you want to check in the video description below, all the videos that I've made about the flat earth over the years, and there's probably a ton that's not in that playlist, actually, guys, because, let's face it, I've made so many I've lost track of it all. But what I do want to cover is that, one last note so that we have a clear division of who's in this debate here, right? Like, I'm just using the information that was shared from this show, The Tasteless Gentleman, to make a point as an overall blanket statement of how I see. This is kind of how I see how the world sees it, is how they pointed out the other day, because people just make a laughing stock out of this. As for myself, I'm an educated individual. I went to Foreign Language Academy. I went to a technical trade school, have a diploma on the wall, install wind turbines, photovoltaic modules, water catchment systems. Let's see, we've worked on storm shelters, safe rooms, greenhouses, tiny homes. I've helped build cabins, you name it, guys. Like, there's so much in the field of construction, you just can't be stupid and get away with it. You actually have to have a lot of common sense. So, I mean, one of the first things you do is pick up an engineering manual. You look at it, don't account for any curvature draw. That's one of the first things you see in an engineering manual, right? So, I mean, the more a person starts getting the wheels turning and questioning things, that's when it really starts to change the dynamic of how you look at it. We live in the matrix generation where that people will fight so hard to support a lie that they can't let go of it. Okay, and we're at that generation, unfortunately. And so, if you look real quickly here, before I go any more of my notes that I wrote down, the whole thing that brought us to where we're at in the conversation today is if you look at the original Facebook post, there it is. And they're using a Mercator map, I believe is the name of that one, to make fun of flat earthers, but actually that's kind of a flat map. I know it's a globe map took and rolled out, but that's not even looking at a globe. Now, I have this other picture to put up here that the whole premise about the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor going all that distance, when in reality, all you have to do is look on a flat azimuthal equidistant map, and you can see that the Japanese Navy didn't have to go very far at all to enact that battle. Now, I got into this situation years ago when I was talking about airplane flights prove that the Earth is flat. When I believe it was a Lufthansa flight that was coming from East Asia, I believe it was, across when they had to do an emergency stop in Alaska. So on a globe map, that would be like up, then all the way back down. But on a flat azimuthal equidistant map, here's China, Alaska, America. It was a perfect stopping point. And all these things, when you really ask the question and lay both world layouts together, and you start asking the question about how the sun and moon revolves, and the stars, and all these things, you look at scripture, you look at all this stuff compiled together, then you look over here at fake NASA and all this garbage and CGI drama and all the junk that they give us nowadays. It's not hard to start dividing the truth. But, Scripture says to study to show thyself approved to Yah, right? So, I mean, I don't have to worry about trying to prove myself to these folks at, hold on, guys, I got to get my notes in, the Tasteless Gentleman Show, all right? I don't have to prove myself to them or anybody else. My conversation I'm having is with you, my subscribers today, and you who might be new to this channel today. Because the take on flat earth is anyone who believes in this is stupid, point blank, these days. But all ancient cultures, the Bible, and etc. endorse it. And not to mention that, I mean, like one of the earliest stories in the Bible is Nimrod tried to build a tower into heaven because they knew that the water came through the firmament dome in Noah's flood. The portals, the windows of heaven were opened up in the firmament, and like, guys, that's why that life, people's generations got shorter and shorter on lifespan because we don't live in a pressurized environment anymore like we used to. I mean, like you can see in science experiments today, when you pressurize an environment, a fish that would have been like this size is now this size. A plant that grew like this is like this. I mean, like you put a piranha plant in there that's them little suckers that's like that eat and fly. You put it in the pressurized environment, and it might actually eat you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much science that backs up that we live in, an environment described in Scripture. But people want to just be so lost in this worldliness, so lost in science fiction, so lost in it all, that it plays right into, as I've said, and will continue to say moving forward until this all kicks off, is that you have the 3-step enemy program, right? Where that you're fighting an enemy you can't see. 9/11, terrorism, COVID, the hidden bug, and lastly, aliens. Because you can't have people believing in aliens and all this stuff unless you have outer space and all these planets and all these systems. You can't have that without it. And so it's just like in Jersey the other day with the whole blimp, Goodyear blimp, and everybody stopped on the highway. They're waiting to receive this. They're looking for it. I mean, we look in California with the direct energy weapons where people's taking pictures, and I believe in Australia also, where that all these fires and stuff have been set off. People's going to see laser beams and stuff come out of the sky, and they're going to think that aliens right. It's not going to be that hard to fake it, even if it ain't a demonic alien thing, because like Aleister Crowley, the most satanic sadist that ever was, probably, showed the sketch, and I can't remember the name of the demon, but he said that was the only time a demon ever materialized to him to see, and it looked just like a gray-head alien guy, right? So, I mean, this is not going to be that hard to deceive people, but when you have people that is so willing to receive the glow, that is so willing to beat up on folks like myself that, we believe in flat earth, I mean, guys, uh, it's not going to be that hard to deceive the masses later down the road. And like this post from the Tasteless Gentleman Show is a perfect prime example of how far deluded people's minds are, that they won't even study for themselves to see what's what. Now, it's even in the UN's logo. The azimuthal map is pretty much the UN's logo these days. I mean, it's right there in your face. I mean, like I said, I've done a whole series on the flat Earth. And I put slides up over time. I've shown all sorts of examples, the CGI fakery of NASA, all that stuff, guys. And a time is coming when you can't research this information. You flat Earth is something that is not a welcome topic. Matter of fact, you look at YouTube's guidelines and stuff nowadays, and flat Earth is something that is unacceptable on this platform. Pretty much, I mean, it's just unacceptable. It's taboo, and the fact that it can't be talked about should be a red flag in itself. That it should be talked about, just like with the true Hebrew Israelites, Father's holy names. Help me out here. What else am I missing? Flat Earth. The Creator's calendar. I mean, these are topics that are more relevant now than they have ever been in the history of humanity, because they are so forgotten. Scripture talks about, what is it, Isaiah chapter 58, verse 12. And there'll be those of you that will build up the waste places, and will be called to repair the breach, to restore the foundations, the streets to dwell in, something to that effect, guys. I don't want to misquote Scripture, but it's Isaiah 58 and 12. Talks about restoring the foundations. We just done that conference here in August in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, surrounding restoring the foundations. Folks, there's two types of people shaking out in society. There's those that want to support this lie, this CGI fakery of NASA and the globe Earth. There's those that actually want to wake up and see the truth that we live in a flat geostationary Earth, and when the firmament dome is ripped open one day, and the kingdom of the Most High Yah comes down to this Earth, it's going to be an eye opener to people, because all eyes will behold him, and all tongues shall confess, and every knee shall bow, and it will be a show of all shows, and the tickets are free, sucker. So yeah, I wanted to get that all off my chest, because I thought, man, I have not done a show in a bit, and I've been busy because I sold my tiny house. We're moving to another place. Getting off grid. There's just so much going on in my life, but this one stopped me in my tracks the other day, because it really was an eye opener to me during this Feast of Tabernacles week. That the reflection on life. You take time off, you reflect on things, and it was really a reflection to me, is that no matter how hard you try to educate and inform and uplift your fellow man, there will be people that will be glad to chip away at you for trying to enlighten yourself. And this doesn't just apply to flat Earth at this point. It's just to anything. How many people in your life have you known that when you decided, I want to start bettering my life, I want to start actually doing, something very productive in my life that will uplift me? How many people come along and try to chip away at that and hold you back from that? It happens more often than not. And that's why I had to cut a lot of people out of my life, especially in these past couple of years, man. More now than ever. But like these guys shared from their show on their Facebook post there, people don't take the time to disseminate this information. They don't take the time to really digest it, look through it, understand it. They don't. And I think it falls into two things. Is that number one is ignorance. And I don't say people stupid for being a globie, because here's why. As opposed to a globalist or globie saying that I'm stupid for being a flat earther, I actually took time to look at both options, right? But a person that only knows the globe will obviously look at me as stupid, as opposed to me looking at them, because they're still in ignorance. Now there comes a point where you're no longer in ignorance, and when you have the opportunity to receive the information of the truth, and you receive not the love of the truth, but wanted to, believe a lie, then that's the point where strong delusion comes in. And, Scripture talks about that when those that receive not the love of the truth will be sent strong delusion. And we're living in the last generation where that so many people get to that point where that I feel that, and once again, I'm always careful on here to say when I feel or think, but I really feel in my spirit that a lot of people come to these crossroads in life, And it's so hard for them to do the right thing because it's like, if I go this path, everyone else around me is in opposition to that. Man, that's going to be hard to walk that out, because if I do that, then that means everybody else around me is going to look at me like, ugh, he's an idiot. Um, and then the peer pressure and all the other things that come along with it. And I think that's why a lot of people I think and feel, because I can't just give you a clear cut answer, this is what happens, but I really think and feel that that's why a lot of people won't walk out the Father's calendar, because everybody goes to church on SA Day, and they just can't do it all the way. They'll do the feast by the Father's calendar, but they just won't do it all the way, right? And keep your Sabbaths by. The holy names. They know it's Yahushua, but they'll just say JC to go along to get along with the crowd. The true Hebrew Israelites. They know that the so-called black men, many of them are the descendants of Abraham, true Hebrew Israelites, but they just can't go all the way with it, because that either they got racism in them, or everybody else leans on the fake Jews in Israel today, so they just got to go along to get along. And then the flat Earth situation, same thing, is that the whole deal with flat Earth is that everybody's going to look at you as if you're just a complete imbecile, because that NASA says the world is round, and your school says the world's round, and your friend says the world's round, your family says the world's round, so by goodness it has to be round. But the scripture, which is the ultimate authority for all of creation, says that it's flat, under a firmament dome, waters above, waters below. It is hung on nothing. It has ends. It is spread out like a tent. The Most High sits upon the circle of the earth, and don't be confused that that's a ball, because that in Isaiah, the same text that's written in Isaiah, a ball is plainly defined as a ball, because it says, "I'll toss thee into a ball as a ball in a foreign land," because they worshipped idols and stuff. Best of my knowledge, I remember reading that text. I can't tell you the exact verse and the verse and chapter in Isaiah, but they're both in there. That you can see the difference between a compass and a circle. Like a circle, literal compass of a circle, and then a ball. Two different contexts that it spoke of in Isaiah there. So when you do your due diligence, do your due diligence, to go and seek these things out to see if they be so. The flat Earth thing is one of the easiest things to sort out. And to get back on topic here, is just like that example at the very beginning there. That was the post to insult flat earthers. And as a flat earther, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, if I was still a globe supporter, why was this not drawn on the globe? Because I would have spin the globe and been like, here's Japan, here's Pearl Harbor, draw a line. But you take this Mercator map that's supposed to stop at one point to the other and go all the way around. I mean, even on a Mercator map, like they have this little line. I think they mark the line off nowadays using the international time zone date line. I think that's how the Mercator map is marked nowadays, so that you can disseminate how that goes on a globe. But anyway, instead of just drawing a line over, like from Japan, arrow that way, and then popping back on the other side, they have to do all this scribbly all around. And so I love the other image that I put up there, because it's like, it just shows the absurdity of a globe supporter's mind in some of this stuff. Because I think that it's not a thing that it can't be computed. I think that they don't want to accept it so badly that they actually go and make a fool of themselves by trying to disprove it by like means that you see right here. That was like that's one of the I think that honestly, and like I said, I don't go around calling people stupid. I am saying this about this argument that was made on Facebook. It is by far, bar none, the number one stupidest argument I have ever seen against flat Earth, and therefore that's what merited me to actually give the time to sit down and discuss it today, because I think this way is, if people look at that as like a factual argument against flat Earth, there's no hope for reaching some of these people. You have to understand that. I've had a lot of people come over the past 5-6 years since I really started sharing flat Earth content as part of a lot of the stuff that I share on this as a ministry. I can't tell you how many people, I've lost track, have came back and apologized, because at first they treated me like a fool. Studied it, come back later and apologize. And the same principle applies about calendar, father's calendar, and other things. But like flat Earth, for certain. People's come back and apologize. And the thing that gets me, sorry guys, just adjusting my audio rig here, because I don't want that thing to. I was trying to keep this out of the way today, just have a one-on-one, and hopefully the audio won't be too far messed up, because usually I've got that thing in front of me. But I just really want to have a one-on-one conversation today with everybody, because this is a topic that I just don't understand why so many people can't get it together on. Is it, and I'm just asking a question at this point to all parties, is it that you want to believe this lie? You just love NASA, you love your government, you love the globe, you love all this stuff, aliens, all that. You love it so much that you want to accept that. Is that what it is? Or is it that you just can't accept the truth? You just literally cannot accept the truth of the matter, that we live, in the world in which the scripture describes. What is it that is the drop-off point? That's the thing that I just wish I could understand. I literally, whether a person accepts, I guess this is the last things I would say on this matter, is whether somebody accepts the flat earth or whether somebody doesn't. People will be like, Luke, you make this a salvational issue. Have I ever said it's a salvational issue? I don't think I have. But what I will say is that there's coming a time when there's so much deception, just like these false alien invasion thing and all that, that where these things start to creep into a salvational issue. Because if you are deceived and you don't have the full spectrum, the full picture of what's going on, then you can be led astray. Whereas opposed to that, the flip side of that is if you have a full mental clarity picture of what's going on, and I see a darn UFO pop out of the sky tomorrow, it's no shocker to me, because I know the stage in which we live, all right? I know the world where we live. I know what I'm dealing with on this plane, okay? And when I know that there's no other planets, no all this craziness that's purported out there nowadays, it keeps the mind a lot safer. And it's not like that I'm scared. Here's the one last note I guess I would leave on that, is if the world was a globe, I don't care. If it was a cube like freaking Minecraft, I don't care. Pyramid, round, circle disc like it is, flat. It makes no difference to me. What bothers me is the fact that the world has went to the greatest leaps and bounds to cover up the true nature of the world we live in, to the point where that a man cannot go to the outer bounds of this earth, past where they're set in Antarctica, to touch the ice wall. And those that have in return, the truth's been hidden, or they've been murdered. And that all the nations of the world made a treaty not to go down there. Now and yet all the world's fighting all the time, but yet they made a treaty not to go down there and mess with that. Come on, hello, that's a wake up. There's just so many lingering things that just cannot be explained away. And because of that, that's what makes me want to study it out even more than ever before. So guys, if you've not looked into the flat earth, take examples like I've shown you today, right here, from where this show shared it on Facebook, making fun of people like myself, is that this is the links that people go to insult those of us in the flat earth community. The fact that people go to those links, should it not run up a red flag that there may be some merit and value to look into? Where do we really live? What does the world look like that we live in? Because where controversy abounds, truth is always present. Guys, until we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel and on another edition of the Hard Truth Show, I hope the Most High Yah Baruch and keep you, make His face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends. In Yahushua and